Hi, welcome back. Here we are, another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. And that means that each episode is less than 666 seconds, which is, of course, less than 11 minutes and 6 seconds if you're keeping track at home. All right, tonight we're going to do an episode for you, story I haven't covered on here yet, although it's been covered extensively out there in true crime land. So I wanted to get to this one tonight. Thought this was a good one to talk about here with you all, because you guys are into true crime like me, and this trial was, it seems like it was forever ago, even though it wasn't. True crime, so much happens in true crime so quickly that it's easy to get caught up in these stories, and something like this one almost seems like old news. But really it wasn't. It was this year. But the Alex Murdaugh trial was a huge one in the true crime community. It was televised, so that made it, it's very sensational. I know I was following it almost daily. Was super interested in it, watching a lot of the creators at night talking about the case. But he was convicted of killing his wife and son in 2021 in rural South Carolina. The fact that the story involved the fallen, powerful attorney, the rich guy, proved to be a huge hit with a lot of us true crime consumers out there, including myself. I mean, this guy was just like such an evil person. He did so many terrible things. Not only the two murders, but all the financial stuff he did, and stole money from people, and he was just awful. So it was a story that I think a lot of people wanted to follow just because they wanted to see this guy finally pay for all the wrongdoings that he did. His guilty verdict led to 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. So some people would figure, is he just going to go away? Is he going to be forgotten? Hell no. We got to have some more Alex Murdaugh, and here he goes. So the Murdaugh attorneys had recently made some claims that Becky Hill, who was the clerk of court in the case, did some things wrong during the trial that may have prejudiced the jury. Now, of course, defense attorneys are going to do what they got to do to hopefully get a new trial or appeal or anything like that. But then all of a sudden you started seeing affidavits from some of these the jurors on the case that made comments about things that she said, that she was telling them about Alex being a liar and don't listen to him, and talking about body language and things that a clerk of court really shouldn't be doing with a jury. There were also claims that she lied about a Facebook post that ended up being part of the reason a juror was removed on the last day of the trial, right before deliberations. And the word on the street was that she was leaning toward not guilty. So very convenient that Becky Hill would come up with this story, allegedly, that this woman had done something. She had talked about the case, was the story, and this Facebook post from what they thought was her ex-husband. It ended up not being from an ex-husband. Kind of a crazy story. But nonetheless, these were, things that were, accusations raised at Becky Hill. Now, Becky Hill published a book about her experience in the case called Behind the Doors of Justice. And this would seem to piss off some of the jurors, and that may have led to some of these inquiries and got people talking about it again. She might have got away with this if she hadn't written a book, at least not so soon. But, I guess time will tell. But you got to wonder, what was she thinking? In addition, writing a book certainly lends to a potential motive that she would have been interested financially in a guilty verdict, closing the case, perfect way to end the book. It kind of is like a scripted story. So you'd have to wonder, was some of the things that she did maybe contributory to, the idea that, she wanted this trial to be quick, or not quick, but the deliberations to get over with and the guilty verdict rendered. So don't know. Certainly makes you wonder, right? And over there in the Low Country in South Carolina, those poor people have been just steeped in all sorts of shadiness. So this just doesn't do them any favors at all. But the drama doesn't stop there. Becky Hill's son, Jeffrey Colton Hill, was arrested in November by State Law Enforcement Division officers, or SLED, for charges of wiretapping. Now, it's uncertain exactly what his crimes were and if it had anything to do with his mother, but as part of the investigation, they've taken her phone as well. So that points to some potential involvement from Becky Hill in this whole fiasco. Don't know that, of course. We don't know at this time, but certainly makes you wonder. And, since then, even more issues have been raised about Becky Hill and some problems with misappropriation of funds, which is, all allegedly here, but things are just not looking good for Becky Hill. Just a lot of things that are being whispered. And again, her phone's confiscated. If she was involved in any way, they're going to find out. Now, due to all of this drama, it appears that can only help Alex Murdaugh and his attorneys fight for getting him a new trial. They already were making claims about Becky Hill doing some underhanded stuff, and now all of this is certainly not going to help her case to defend herself from not doing what they claim she did. So a lot of the experts I've seen on lawyers and people that know think that there's a pretty good possibility he's going to get a new trial over all of this. And what a total colossal waste of time and money for the taxpayers in Colleton County to have to pay for another three-ring circus with this. Just unbelievable. So since Becky read the guilty verdict in the trial, you got to think that Alex Murdaugh is definitely laughing in his prison cell, thinking about maybe her being in a prison cell just like him, if any of this stuff really sticks. So we'll see. And it sucks because I think, the guilty verdict was legit. I think he did what they said he did. And, I think that, he shouldn't be given another trial. But if she did what they said she did, that's not right. And even a despicable person like Alex Murdaugh deserves a fair trial. So, it is what it is. But I think that's probably the inevitability here with this one. Now, he was also recently found guilty on the financial crimes and sentenced to 27 years in prison. So if he did get a second trial, and let's say he was found not guilty, he's not walking. He's got to do, I think, 80% or 85% of that. He's already in his late 50s. So the likelihood of him getting out and being old enough to do a whole lot of anything, or young enough to do a whole lot of anything, is very, very doubtful in my opinion. So what are your guys' thoughts? I'd love to hear from you. So let me know in the comments below. Love to get the feedback from you guys and appreciate your comments very much. And if you like what I do, you can check me out every week on the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast. Well, thanks for checking out another episode, and we'll see you next time.